Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, back with another STAMPtember exclusive. I will get to the set in a minute. Before I did any stamping, I wanted to create a couple of backgrounds, and I'm using Simon Says Stamp's Radiating Hearts stencil. And I'm working on my Wendy Vecchi Make Art station here, which is magnetic, so I'm using that to hold down my stencil. And then I'm using my Studio Katia blender brushes and then a rainbow of distress inks. My go-to rainbow colors, which is mustard seed, carved pumpkin, picked raspberry, mowed lawn, mermaid lagoon, and wilted violet, of course. Always starting with the yellow. Yellow's for me, I always start with the yellow because yellow has a tendency, it can, pick up the other colors. I didn't want to get colors where I didn't want them, and it's just habit too. And in some sense, it probably doesn't really matter. But I started with the yellow and then, blended everything out in rainbow order. And then I did this twice because I just decided I wanted to make 2 cards. Why not? So I did my ink blending first with these distress inks. Once I was done blending everything, I am going to wipe off this stencil. And then I'm going to place it right back on top of these. And then I'm going to add some Stickles glitter gel. I had actually bought all 6 that Ranger and Tim Holtz released whenever this was, 6 months ago. I don't even remember. I ordered the whole pack and then it sat here like everything in my life, it seems. So yeah, this is my first time using it. I gotta say, it's got the weirdest... It has a different texture to it. If you've ever worked with like glitter paste, pretty much all glitter paste have kind of the same sort of texture. It's glitter paste. This stuff has a texture. The only thing I can think of is like hair gel, kind of. It's interesting. And the fun thing with these are there's all kinds of different, like this one, different things in it. So this is the Nebula. So it's got a couple different types of glitter, and then it has this like star confetti in it, which I thought would be so fun because I'm making birthday cards. And yeah, it has this weird texture. It works great. It was very different for me. And it spread slightly differently. I'm going to have to play with them even more because I was also just kind of expecting it to really move the distress inks around because that's normally what happens when you use glitter gels. But then when I was thinking about it, I'm like, Ranger made this. They make the distress inks. They make the Stickles, all the things. So I'm like, obviously this was all how it's supposed to work. It's fun. I loved it. Seriously. And the cool thing is it says right on the container, you can dry it with a heat tool. So, and I did do that off camera. I was playing with it because a lot of times with glitter paste and that sort of thing, if you use a heat tool on it, a lot of times it will start to bubble and it will completely ruin the look. Whereas this, I was experimenting. I didn't even see it on the container till after I used the heat tool to speed it up. But I was like, oh, this isn't bubbling. Like, why is everything working so well? It's usually not like this. Yeah, it was made this way. So anywho, applied that to both, cleaned everything off. The only thing I did, and I showed that on camera, was when I would remove the stencil, I'm taking just another little palette knife here. And I was just pushing some of the little star confetti pieces that kind of seeped underneath the stencil. So I just kind of pushed them back on top of the hearts. And then I set these aside to dry, which... I used the heat tool as well just to speed it up, but air drying is fine too. So I set those aside, and now I'm working with the STAMPtember limited edition set. This is with the Greeting Farm. I have had a soft spot for the Greeting Farm for years and years and years, since pretty much I first discovered them whenever it was. And they have the cutest images. There's something about these little big head images that are just adorable. They're fun to color. They're great to experiment with coloring. Yeah, love them. So this is the Got Cake set, and I stamped both little characters from the set onto Nina Classic Crest Solar White 80-pound cardstock with Simon's Intense Black ink, and then I'm coloring them in with Copic markers. And like always, I'm not doing anything special in terms of anything fancy, other than I'm going to do some like non-traditional hair colors, but I didn't do anything fancy with, like, you can do amazing things with the hair. Like, some of the coloring artists out there do just phenomenal things. They'll make the hair look real or just amazing blending techniques, all that sort of thing. But I didn't do that. I was going to, but as usual, time was just getting away from me. So I just did just regular blending. I didn't do like the little flicks for hair and all that sort of thing. This was me kind of doing something different, was just doing fun colors for hair. So I did an aqua mix of Copic markers for this little character's hair. And then the other one I'm going to do pink because why not? It's fun. So went back and forth with the colors and like with everything. That's what I do with Copic markers. I work darkest to lightest. It's just habit after all of these years. But again, if you are newer to Copic markers or you're struggling with coloring, it is always recommended go lightest to darkest. You have a lot more control. Always. You have way more control if you're using light to dark because you can be a lot more conservative with how much dark you add. When you go dark to light, you can't really take away the dark color, if that makes sense. So there's a ton of good Copic tutorials out there. I highly recommend like Sandy Alnock. I think Online Card Classes did a Copic marker class. There's so many now. Tons of tutorials. I just keep to what works for me. Anywho, colored in all my little images. Off camera, I had stamped this little cat in the present a second time and colored it the exact same way. He's just so cute. So I needed one for each card. And I also stamped the little cake image from the set as well. Used pretty much all the same colors, colored that in. And then with their outfits and stuff, I just kind of alternated the colors. Since I had like the rainbow background going on, I was just using all very similar colors to what I had used to create the background for both of these. And then I fussy cut out these images only because there is a coordinating die set. You can buy the stamp set or you can buy the combo that has the stamp set with the coordinating wafer dies. I'll link to both. Again, since STAMPtember, these are only while supplies last. Usually the Greeting Farm set sells out really quickly because, of course, it's super cute. So anywho, colored in on my images. I added my white gel pen highlights. Again, I don't really follow any rules, especially when I'm doing like cutesy images, that sort of thing. Like, I don't really worry about light sources too much. I just add the highlights wherever I think they're going to look nice. With these, I added quite a few because, again, there's a lot of hair and a lot of areas to just add the white gel pen. So I was like, why not? So just little lines here and there, little dots here and there till I was happy with it. And then once I had that added to all of the images, I cut everything out. And then I'm going to set those aside and work on the rest of the elements of the card. So I pulled out the Simon Says Stamp birthday sentiment strips because I just wanted to add a few little extras to these cards. So I pulled those out and I'm just trimming down the sentiments I want with my paper trimmer. And then all the extras I just store in the package with these sentiments for me to use on other projects. So once I figured out which ones I wanted, because these have 2 sheets of each, or depending on some of the older ones, there's 4 sheets of the same sentiments. So I just cut out the same sentiments for each card. And then after I did that, I took sentiments from the stamp set, and I have some doll pink and some island blue cardstock here in my mini Misty. And I am going to stamp these sentiments with clear embossing ink. And then I'm going to flip these pieces of cardstock around and do it a second time. So anti-static powder tool, inked up the stamps with clear embossing ink, and stamped them both twice each time with that clear embossing ink just to make sure I got everything stamped. And then I'm going to coat these with detail white embossing powder. And then once these are heat embossed, off camera, I just trimmed these out with scissors. I was heavily channeling Nina Marie Trapani when making these cards. If you don't already follow her, highly recommend it. She designs for Simon Says Stamp. She does a lot of cards for them. She does graphics. She designs stamps for them. And her cards have a very unique sort of rainbow look. Like, I can tell one of her cards from a mile away. And this whole time, after I finished making these, I was like, this looks like something Nina would make. So I was definitely channeling and heavily inspired by her because I love her cards. They're so cheerful and bright, and I love it. So she has really inspired me to get out of the box of always, I always stamp my sentiments on black cardstock, white heat emboss on black cardstock. That's just what I do. And she always uses such bright colors, and I just love the look of it. So that's what I did. And I even took my Copic markers and colored these sentiment strips as well. You can color them, you can ink blend on them, whatever works, rather than just leave them white, which is also something I rarely ever do. But I just quickly colored in the sentiments with my Copic markers, making sure to coat the edges as well, just to make them look a little more seamless. And then my stenciled backgrounds, I had die cut with one of Simon's nested rectangle wafer dies. And then I coated the back of them with Simon's Big Mama foam tape. And then I put some craft tacky glue on the back of the foam tape. This just gives me a couple seconds of wiggle room, because if you ever work with foam tape, the minute it touches the cardstock, it is permanently adhered. So having that liquid glue just gives me a second to make sure things are straight, shimmy it around a teeny bit, and then it's held down. So I did that with both the backgrounds. And then all the other little elements, I had also put the Big Mama foam tape on the back of, just to pop them up, but also to make it easier to adhere on top of this glitter gel paste from Ranger. Anytime I'm adhering over anything like a glitter paper or glitter paste, etc., the texture can make it a little more difficult. So either a good liquid glue or foam tape is the way to go, because it makes sure that things stay adhered and it doesn't just kind of pop off down the road. And then on the inside of the card, I adhered the little elements with craft tacky glue. Both my card bases are top folding A2 cards made from Nina Desert Storm cardstock. And that finished off the super fun and bright and colorful Nina Marie inspired birthday cards. So I will have a link to the set, as well as all the other supplies I used, and my blog post in the description box below the video, so you can check that out if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting. I appreciate it so much. I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye!